Remember when your favorite sitcom used to make you laugh so hard you'd spit out your TV dinner? Then suddenly you're watching season 8, wondering why you're still tuning in every week? Well, that's because networks in the 70s and 80s had a simple philosophy. If it ain't broke, run it into the ground until it is. Today we're counting down 15 sitcoms that should have taken their final bow seasons earlier than they did. Number 15. One Day at a Time. One Day at a Time premiered on CBS in 1975 and ran for 9 seasons until 1984, following divorced mom Anne Romano, played by Bonnie Franklin, as she raised 2 daughters in Indianapolis. The show was groundbreaking for its time, tackling divorce, single motherhood, and women's independence with humor and heart. Barbara, played by Valerie Bertinelli, and Julie, played by Mackenzie Phillips, navigated teenage years while Anne juggled dating, career, and keeping Superintendent Schneider, played by Pat Harrington Jr., from completely taking over her apartment. For the first 5 or 6 seasons, the show was sharp, relevant, and actually funny. Norman Lear knew how to balance social issues with genuine comedy, but by the time the show hit season 7, things started feeling stale. The daughters had grown up, gotten married, and the storylines became repetitive. Then there were the behind-the-scenes issues with Mackenzie Phillips, whose struggles with substance abuse led to her being fired and rehired multiple times. The show tried to work around her absences, but it was like watching someone try to ice skate uphill. By season 9, even the most loyal fans were ready to move on. The magic that made the show special had evaporated faster than Schneider's paycheck at the local bar. To be fair, 9 seasons is a solid run, but the final 2 seasons felt like the TV equivalent of a band doing one too many farewell tours. The show deserved to end on a high note instead of limping across the finish line. Number 14. The Facts of Life. The Facts of Life started as a Diff'rent Strokes spin-off in 1979 and somehow managed to outlive its parent show, running until 1988 for a total of 9 seasons. The show followed Mrs. Garrett, played by Charlotte Rae, as she became house mother at the Eastland School for Girls, mentoring a group of students including Blair, Joe, Natalie, and Tootie, played by Lisa Whelchel, Nancy McKeon, Mindy Cohn, and Kim Fields, respectively. The early seasons were charming. 4 girls with different backgrounds learning life lessons at boarding school. It was wholesome, funny, and occasionally tackled serious topics. But here's the thing. The show didn't know when to graduate its own students. By the time the girls had finished school and were running a gourmet food shop, the premise had completely changed. It went from the facts of life to the facts of running a small business. And nobody asked for that spin-off. Season 7 brought in George Clooney as handyman George Burnett, because apparently the show needed a heartthrob before Clooney became, well, George Clooney. By seasons 8 and 9, even Clooney's future movie star charm couldn't save the tired storylines. The show had lost what made it special: the school setting, the coming-of-age stories, and the innocence of watching young girls figure out life. Charlotte Rae left partway through the final season, and the show tried to continue without its moral center. It was like removing the foundation from a house and wondering why everything's collapsing. The Facts of Life taught us many lessons, but the writers clearly never learned that sometimes you gotta know when to close the yearbook. Number 13. The Love Boat. The Love Boat set sail on ABIC in 1977 and didn't dock for good until 1987, giving us 10 seasons of the exact same thing over and over again. Captain Stubbing, played by Gavin MacLeod, led a crew including Julie the cruise director, played by Lauren Tuies, Gopher the purser, played by Fred Grandy, Isaac the bartender, played by Ted Lang, and Doc, played by Bernie Kopel, as they helped passengers find love, solve problems, or reconnect with estranged relatives. The formula was simple: 3 storylines per episode, guest stars playing passengers with problems that get resolved by the time the ship returns to port, and a whole lot of polyester suits. And you know what? For the first few seasons, it worked. It was escapist fun, a fantasy cruise that most Americans couldn't actually afford. But by season 5 or 6, you'd seen every possible variation of the same plots. Lost love reunited? Check. Mistaken identity? Check. Someone learning a valuable lesson about honesty? Check, check, and check. The show became the television equivalent of eating the same meal every single night for a decade. Sure, it's comfortable and familiar, but eventually you're going to crave something different. By the final seasons, even the guest stars seemed like they were just picking up a paycheck and a free cruise. The magic had sailed away somewhere around season 7, but ABC kept the ship going for 3 more years. What's wild is that the show technically continued with Love Boat, the next wave in the 90s, proving that some networks truly don't know when to let a franchise rest in peace. The Love Boat taught us that exciting and new gets very old very quickly when you're doing it for 10 straight seasons. Number 12, The Jeffersons. The Jeffersons moved on up to the East Side in 1975 and stayed there for 11 seasons until 1985. George and Louise Jefferson, played by Sherman Hemsley and Isabel Sanford, started as neighbors to Archie Bunker on All in the Family before getting their own show about their deluxe apartment in the sky. The show tackled race, class, and marriage with sharp wit and Sherman Hemsley's incredible physical comedy. For the first 7 or 8 seasons, The Jeffersons was must-see TV. George's interactions with his maid Florence, played by Marla Gibbs, were comedy gold. The relationship between the Jeffersons and their interracial neighbors, the Willis family, provided social commentary wrapped in genuine humor. And watching George's dry cleaning business success go to his head never got old. Well, almost never got old. By season 9, the show started running on fumes. The storylines became repetitive. George learns humility for the 100th time. Louise tries to keep him grounded. Florence delivers a zinger, rinse and repeat. It was like watching the same episode with different props. The show that once felt fresh and boundary-pushing had become just another sitcom going through the motions. What makes The Jeffersons' long run especially frustrating is how it ended. After 11 seasons, CBS canceled the show without any warning. No final episode, no goodbye, just done. The cast found out they were canceled by reading it in the trades, which is the television equivalent of breaking up with someone via text message. The Jeffersons deserved better than to limp through 3 mediocre final seasons and then get unceremoniously dumped. Sherman Hemsley and Isabel Sanford remained close friends until Hemsley's death in 2012, often joking that they spent more time together than most real married couples. That chemistry kept viewers watching longer than the writing justified. Number 11, Laverne and Shirley. Laverne and Shirley premiered in 1976 as a Happy Days spin-off and ran for 8 seasons until 1983, following 2 brewery workers and best friends in Milwaukee trying to make their dreams come true. Penny Marshall as Laverne and Cindy Williams as Shirley had incredible chemistry, and the show became a massive hit, at one point beating Happy Days in the ratings. The early seasons were magic. Laverne and Shirley's friendship felt genuine. The supporting cast, including Lenny and Squiggy, played by Michael McKean and David Lander, added perfect chaos, and the show balanced slapstick comedy with real heart. But then, the show made a massive mistake. They moved everyone from Milwaukee to California in season 6. It was like the writers looked at what was working and said, let's completely change that. The California years were rough. The show lost its blue-collar charm and became just another sitcom about people trying to make it in Hollywood. Then came the real disaster. Cindy Williams left the show during season 8 due to a pregnancy and contract disputes with Paramount. The show actually tried to continue as just Laverne without Shirley, which is like having peanut butter without jelly, or Simon without Garfunkel. Those final Shirley-less episodes are painful to watch. Laverne and Shirley without Shirley isn't Laverne and Shirley. It's just a sad reminder of what the show used to be. Penny Marshall later admitted the show should have ended when they left Milwaukee. She was right. The final 2 seasons felt like watching your favorite band perform, with only one original member, and that member clearly wishes they were anywhere else. The tragedy is that Penny Marshall and Cindy Williams reportedly never fully reconciled after their falling out. Both went on to successful careers, Marshall as a director and Williams in various TV roles. But the friendship that made Laverne and Shirley special was broken behind the scenes long before the show ended. Number 10, ALF. Wait, hear me out on this one. ALF ran for just 4 seasons from 1986 to 1990, which doesn't sound long, but for a show about a furry alien who eats cats and lives with a suburban family, even 4 seasons felt like an eternity. ALF, which stood for Alien Life Form, crashed into the Tanner family's garage and became their permanent house guest, constantly causing chaos while hiding from the government. The first seasons had novelty on its side. A wisecracking alien puppet living in hiding? Sure, that's different, but the premise had a built-in shelf life that the show completely ignored. How many times can ALF almost get caught before it stops being interesting? How many cat-eating jokes can you make before it gets old? Apparently, the writers thought the answer was infinite. By season 3, the show was grasping at straws. They introduced new characters, tried different storylines, and even attempted more serious dramatic moments. But at the end of the day, it was still a show about a puppet alien making sarcastic comments, and that well ran dry faster than the Tanners' patience should have. The real kick in the teeth was the series finale, which ended on a cliffhanger with Alf being captured by the military. The show was canceled before they could resolve it, leaving fans with one of the most frustrating endings in television history. They eventually made a TV movie to wrap things up, but by then, nobody cared anymore. Behind the scenes, the show was reportedly a nightmare. Creator Paul Fusco was notoriously difficult, and the technical requirements of filming with a puppet made production slow and expensive. Maybe if the show had ended after 2 seasons, it would be remembered more fondly instead of as that alien puppet show that went on too long and ended terribly. Number 9, Diff'rent Strokes. Diff'rent Strokes asked, "What you talking about, Willis?" For 8 seasons from 1978 to 1986, and by season 6, we were all asking what the writers were talking about. The show followed wealthy Philip Drummond, played by Conrad Bain, adopting 2 black kids from Harlem, Arnold and Willis Jackson, played by Gary Coleman and Todd Bridges. The first few seasons balanced fish-out-of-water comedy with genuine social commentary. Gary Coleman became a cultural phenomenon, and the show tackled serious issues like racism and drug abuse. But by season 5, the cracks were showing. The kids were growing up, losing the cute factor. So producers added another kid, Sam, played by Danny Cooksey, classic cousin Oliver syndrome. The real problem wasn't just creative decline. Behind-the-scenes issues were dark. Coleman's health problems, Dana Plato's substance abuse and tragic death, Bridges' legal troubles. By the final seasons, you could feel the dysfunction seeping through the screen. Diff'rent Strokes should have ended around season 5, before everything fell apart. Number 8. Who's the Boss? Who's the Boss ran for 8 seasons from 1984 to 1992, and by season 6, everyone watching knew exactly who the boss was. Network executives milking a cash cow for every last dollar. Tony Danza played Tony Micelli, a former baseball player who became a housekeeper for Angela Bauer, played by Judith Light, a successful advertising executive. The show's central question was, will they or won't they get together? And the answer for 8 torturous seasons was, we're gonna drag this out as long as humanly possible. The first 4 seasons were charming. Tony and Angela had great chemistry. The supporting cast, including Alyssa Milano as Sam and Katherine Hellman as Mona, were solid, and the role reversal premise felt fresh. But then the show fell into the classic sitcom trap, dragging out the romantic tension so long that viewers stopped caring. By season 5, Tony and Angela had almost gotten together, then didn't, then maybe would, then absolutely wouldn't, then possibly could. It was exhausting. The writers threw every obstacle imaginable at them. Other relationships, misunderstandings, cold feet, career conflicts, and even a kid, Billy, Tony's cousin from Brooklyn, who showed up in the final season in a last-ditch effort to inject new energy. The show finally put Tony and Angela together in the series finale, but by then it felt less like a triumphant moment and more like, finally, can we all go home now? 8 seasons of will they won't they is about 6 seasons too many. Moonlighting proved that you could put the leads together and still have a show. Who's the Boss proved that you could keep them apart and completely exhaust your audience. Tony Danza has even joked in interviews that the show went on a few seasons too long, which is the diplomatic way of saying, we were all just collecting paychecks by the end. The show should have ended around season 5 or 6, with Tony and Angela together and everyone's sanity intact. Alright, We're halfway through this countdown, so now it's your turn. Which of these shows did you keep watching way longer than you should have? Drop a comment below and confess your sins. We've all been there. Hate watching the final seasons of shows we used to love. And hey, if you haven't already, smash that like button and subscribe because unlike these shows, we actually know when to keep things fresh. Now, let's get back to the countdown with number 7. Number 7. Growing Pains. Growing Pains ran for 7 seasons from 1985 to 1992, following the Seaver family as psychiatrist dad Jason, played by Alan Thicke, and journalist mom Maggie, played by Joanna Kearns, raised their kids including heartthrob Mike, played by Kirk Cameron. The show was wholesome family entertainment that mixed humor with life lessons, and for the first 4 or 5 seasons, it worked beautifully. Then something happened around season 5. Kirk Cameron found religion and started demanding changes to scripts, refusing to do scenes he deemed immoral. The show's tone shifted from lighthearted family comedy to after-school special on steroids. Every episode became a moral lesson delivered with all the subtlety of a sledgehammer. The fun was being preached right out of the living room. But the real sign that Growing Pains had lost its way came in the final season when they brought in a young Leonardo DiCaprio as Luke, a homeless teen who moves in with the Seavers. We've talked about this before in previous videos, but it bears repeating. When your family sitcom about suburban life suddenly adopts a homeless kid in the final season, you've officially run out of ideas. DiCaprio was actually great in the role, bringing real emotion and depth to what could have been a cheap ratings stunt. But his presence highlighted how far the show had strayed from its original premise. Growing Pains was supposed to be about the Seaver family growing up, not about becoming a halfway house for troubled teens. The show should have ended after season 5, right as the kids were graduating high school and moving on to college. Instead, it dragged on for 2 more increasingly bizarre seasons that felt like a completely different show, wearing Growing Pains' skin. Alan Thicke later admitted the final seasons were challenging, which is actor speak for, we all knew it was time to go. Number 6. Full House. Full House technically started in 1987 and ran until 1995, so it bridges the gap between 80s and 90s sitcoms. But make no mistake, this show overstayed its welcome by at least 2 seasons. The premise was simple. Danny Tanner, played by Bob Saget, raises his 3 daughters with help from his brother-in-law Jesse, played by John Stamos, and best friend Joey, played by Dave Coulier. The early seasons had charm. The family dynamic worked. Michelle's "You got it, dude" was adorable, and the show balanced schmaltz with genuine heart. But then Michelle became the focus. Twins Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen became massive stars, and the show became The Michelle Show, featuring everyone else as supporting characters. By season 6, they'd added Rebecca, played by Lori Loughlin, as Jesse's wife, and then twins Nikki and Alex to keep the cute kid quota high. Every problem got solved with a hug, every lesson ended with swelling music, and the house got more crowded than a San Francisco apartment realistically would be. It was comfort food television that eventually became pure sugar with no nutritional value whatsoever. The final 2 seasons are especially rough. The kids had all grown up. The youngest kids were just props with punchlines. And the storylines had become so repetitive you could predict the entire episode from the first scene. Danny learns to let go. Jesse struggles with responsibility. Joey makes a goofy voice. Someone learns about honesty. Cue the music, roll credits. Full House should have ended around season 6, maybe 7 at the absolute latest. Instead, it dragged on for 8 seasons, setting up a legacy that would eventually spawn Fuller House decades later, proving that some shows truly never die, they just get rebooted. The original cast has all admitted the show went on longer than expected, with Bob Saget joking that he served an 8-year sentence in the Tanner house. Number 5. Family Ties. Family Ties ran for 7 seasons from 1982 to 1989. And while 7 seasons isn't as egregious as some shows on this list, the final 2 seasons were clearly running on fumes. The show followed ex-hippie parents Stephen and Elise Keaton, played by Michael Gross and Meredith Baxter, raising their kids including young Republican Alex, played by Michael J. Fox, whose conservative values clashed with his liberal parents' ideals. The first 5 seasons were brilliant. Michael J. Fox became a superstar. The political clash between generations felt fresh and funny, and the show balanced comedy with genuine character development. But then 2 things happened. Fox's movie career exploded with Back to the Future, and the show added baby Andy in season 5, who was rapidly aged to a wisecracking preschooler by season 6. Fox was increasingly absent as his film career took priority, which meant the show lost its central star and biggest draw. Meanwhile, Andy, played by Brian Bonsall, became more prominent in a desperate attempt to fill the void. But nobody tuned into Family Ties to watch a precocious kid deliver punchlines. They wanted to watch Alex P. Keaton scheme, debate, and navigate young adulthood. The final 2 seasons felt like a completely different show. The sharp political satire was replaced with broader family comedy. The ensemble dynamics shifted awkwardly, and you could feel the writers struggling to find storylines that worked without Fox front and center. Even when Fox was present, he looked exhausted, bouncing between sitcom filming and movie sets. The show should have ended after season 5, maybe 6, right as Alex graduated high school. Instead, it limped through 2 more seasons that tarnished the legacy of what had been groundbreaking television. Michael Gross has said in interviews that everyone knew they were coasting by the end, just trying to make it to the finish line with some dignity intact. Oh boy. Number 4. Cheers. Now, this one might be controversial, but hear me out. Cheers ran for 11 seasons from 1982 to 1993, and while it's considered one of the greatest sitcoms ever made, the post-Shelley Long seasons were a fundamentally different show that went on too long. The early seasons following Sam Malone, played by Ted Danson, and his on-again, off-again romance with Diane Chambers, played by Shelley Long, were television perfection. When Long left after season 5, the show brought in Kirstie Alley as Rebecca Howe and continued for 6 more seasons. Now, to be clear, Alley was great, and the later seasons had strong moments, but it was a different show with a different dynamic, and it went on for 6 additional seasons, when maybe 3 or 4 would have been sufficient. By seasons 10 and 11, even the most die-hard fans could feel the show stretching storylines. Sam and Rebecca's will they won't they had nowhere near the electricity of Sam and Diane. The bar regulars, Norm, Cliff, Frasier, and Woody, played by George Wendt, John Ratzenberger, Kelsey Grammer, and Woody Harrelson, were doing variations of the same bits they'd done for years. It was still good television, but it was a cover band playing the hits, not the original artists creating something new. The series finale was a massive television event, and the show went out with dignity, but you can't help wondering if Cheers would be remembered even more fondly if it had ended around season 8 or 9, before the diminishing returns became too obvious. 11 seasons is a long time for any show, even a great one. Ted Danson himself has mentioned that the final seasons were exhausting, and you can see it in his performance. He's still professional, still delivers, but the spark isn't quite there anymore. Cheers proved you could continue after losing a main character, but it also proved that just because you can doesn't always mean you should. Number 3, Three's Company. Three's Company ran for 8 seasons from 1977 to 1984, surviving multiple cast changes, behind-the-scenes drama, and increasingly ridiculous plots built on the flimsy premise that Jack Tripper, played by John Ritter, had to pretend to be gay to live with 2 female roommates. The early seasons with Suzanne Summers as Chrissy and Joyce DeWitt as Janet were comedy gold, built on physical comedy, sexual innuendo, and misunderstandings. Then Summers demanded equal pay to Ritter after season 4. The producers refused, and she was written off the show in one of the most acrimonious exits in sitcom history. The show brought in Jenna Lee Harrison as Cindy, and then Priscilla Barnes as Terry to replace her, proving that they viewed the blonde roommate as an interchangeable part rather than a key element of the show's chemistry. The post-Summers seasons were significantly weaker. John Ritter did his best, and Joyce DeWitt remained a steady presence, but the magic was gone. The show became increasingly dependent on physical comedy and innuendo without the charm that the original trio brought. And as by season 8, even the most loyal fans were ready for the roommates to finally move out. What makes Three's Company's long run especially frustrating is that the show spawned multiple spin-offs. Three's a Crowd, and The Ropers, in attempts to milk the franchise for every possible dollar. It was like watching a network squeeze blood from a stone, while the original show slowly bled out its appeal. The show should have ended when Suzanne Summers left. Yes, it would have been only 5 seasons, but they would have been 5 strong seasons instead of 8 increasingly desperate ones. John Ritter went on to other successful shows, and Summers eventually made peace with her co-stars decades later, but Three's Company itself became a case study in how salary disputes and cast changes can ruin a hit show. Number 2. Daksai S. Mass H ran for 11 seasons from 1972 to 1983, and here's the kicker. The show lasted 3 times longer than the actual Korean War it was based on. Let that sink in. The war lasted 3 years. The show about the war lasted 11. By the end, the characters had been in Korea longer than some soldiers were alive. Don't get me wrong, the early seasons of MASH were groundbreaking television. It balanced comedy with drama, took war seriously while finding humor in absurdity, and created some of the most memorable characters in TV history. Hawkeye, played by Alan Alda, Trapper John, played by Wayne Rogers, and Henry Blake, played by McLean Stevenson, had incredible chemistry in those early years. But then the cast started changing. McLean Stevenson left after season 3, Wayne Rogers left after season 3. They were replaced by Harry Morgan as Colonel Potter and Mike Farrell as BJ Honeycutt, both fine actors, but the show's tone shifted. It became more preachy, more serious, less funny. By the final seasons, MASH felt more like a drama with occasional jokes than the dark comedy it started as. The later seasons dragged. How many times could Hawkeye have a crisis of conscience about the war? How many times could the gang outsmart a stuffy colonel or deal with supply shortages? The show recycled plots and themes with diminishing returns. Even the famous series finale, while emotionally powerful, was 2.5 hours long, as if the show couldn't even end without overstaying its welcome one last time. MAS**. H should have ended around season 7 or 8, before it became more famous for how long it ran than for how good it was. The show would be remembered more fondly as a tight, brilliant 7-season run than as an 11-season marathon that outlasted its own premise. Alan Alda has defended the show's length, but even he's admitted some seasons were stronger than others, which is diplomatic speak for, yeah, maybe we went a bit long. Number 1. Happy Days. Taking the top spot at number 1, the show that literally gave us the phrase jumping the shark, Happy Days ran for 11 seasons from 1974 to 1984. And while the early seasons were charming nostalgia for 1950s America, the later seasons became a parody of themselves, riding the Fonz's leather jacket into the ground until there was nothing left. The first few seasons were genuinely great television. Richie Cunningham, played by Ron Howard, navigating teenage life in Milwaukee with his family and friends, including the cool Fonzie, played by Henry Winkler. The show balanced wholesome family values with just enough edge to be interesting. Fonzie's I became a cultural phenomenon, and the show dominated the ratings. But then things started going wrong. In Season 5, Episode 3, Hollywood Part 3, Fonzie literally jumped over a shark while water skiing, creating the term for the exact moment a show goes from great to ridiculous. From that point on, Happy Days became the Fonzie Show, with increasingly absurd storylines and a rotating cast, as actors left for other projects. Ron Howard left after Season 7 to pursue directing. Erin Moran's Joni got her own spin-off with Chachi. The show brought in new characters, added Fonzie's young cousin, and completely lost the nostalgic charm that made it special. By the final seasons, the show was set in the 60s, having aged in real time, and nobody cared anymore. The magic was gone. The show limped through 4 seasons after Ron Howard left, existing purely on Fonzie's fading coolness and network inertia. It should have ended when Richie graduated high school or college, giving the show a natural conclusion. Instead, it dragged on for 11 seasons, with the final years serving as a cautionary tale for every sitcom that followed. Henry Winkler has spoken about how the later seasons were challenging, with the show having lost its original purpose. The success of the early seasons made it impossible for ABC to cancel it. even when everyone involved knew it was time. Happy Days proved that sometimes the longest-running shows aren't the best shows, just the ones that networks can't bring themselves to end. And there you have it, 15 sitcoms from the 70s and 80s that went on way too long. From Happy Days literally jumping the shark to MASH, outlasting the actual Korean War. These shows prove that sometimes less really is more. The lesson here is clear. End on a high note before you become a punchline. Which show on this list do you think overstayed its welcome the most? Did we miss any obvious long runners that should have ended sooner? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more retro TV deep dives. Until next time, this is Remember When, reminding you that not everything that was on TV back then was actually worth remembering.